This episode is brought to you by Audi. The road is calling. Embrace the thrill of the drive with the all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron. Featuring effortless power, serious acceleration, and advanced Audi tech. It's not just a new EV. It's a new way to experience driving. The all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron is here. The next chapter of Audi starts now.
It's time for basketball, and Uber Eats is dropping deals on game day favorites to keep you locked in on the action. Like when you're craving a buzzer beater, but also buffalo wings. Or when an upset makes you want to ugly cry into a pizza. And right now, Uber Eats has game day deals from Burger King, Buffalo Wild Wings, KFC, and hundreds more local favorites. So you can keep your eyes on the ball and your hands on a burger. Order now, only on Uber Eats. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does, without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
You're listening to the Animation Addicts Podcast with the Rotoscopers, episode 309, James and the Giant Peach. It's always World War II. Welcome to the Animation Addicts Podcast with the Rotoscopers, the #1 place to get your animation fix with animation addicts just like you. Each episode, we dive into the wonderful world of animation featuring Disney, DreamWorks, Pixar, and everything in between. From hilarious discussions and movie reviews to interviews with industry insiders, this show's mission is to brighten your day through our love of animation. So hop on your nerdy couch, grab some snacks, and get ready to hang out with your animation besties because it's time to dive into today's episode.
Hey there, Animation Addicts. I'm Morgan Stradling.
And I'm Chelsea Robson.
And we are back today, having just stuffed our faces full of a juicy peach. We are ready to talk about an underappreciated Disney film, not canon, James and the Giant Peach. It is peach season right now. How apropos that we're doing James and the Giant Peach and peach season. So in honor of James and the Giant Peach, what is your favorite peach dessert? There's the peach shakes, there's the peach cobbler, peach crumble, peach pie.
I'd say peach cobbler.
See, I am not a cobbler person. I am a crumble person. Because okay. That's fine. And I love that for you. But
I love that for you.
It seems like they at different activities or family dinners, like they're always making the cobbler, which is kind of like a cake-like consistency with the peaches or the whatever fruit mixed in. But I love just like the chunky peaches with the crumble topping that's just like not soft but more crunchy, you know?
Yeah.
Yes. I like it.
See, I like the cobbler because it has slightly a consistency of a pie.
Yes.
But not.
Yes.
It just reminds me of being outdoors and having a Dutch oven and making that on the fire. And it just kind of has a whole vibe.
Yes.
So that's what I'm going for.
I do like that. I do like camping, having cobbler.
Yes. It's one of the only good things that come out of camping.
Clorox Sentiva smells like grapefruit. Cleans like Clorox. And feels like...
Okay, we could be here all day. Try Clorox Sentiva for a trusted clean with long-lasting freshness. Also available in lavender and coconut. Use as directed.
Support comes from ServiceNow. We're for people doing the creative work they actually want to do. That's why this ad was written and read by a real person and not AI. You know what people don't want to do? Boring, busy work. Now with AI agents built into the ServiceNow platform, you can automate millions of repetitive tasks in every corner of your business, IT, HR, and more, so your people can focus on the work that they want to do. That's putting AI agents to work for people. It's your turn. Visit ServiceNow.com.
More rewards, more savings.
With American Express Business Gold, earn up to $395 back in annual statement credits on eligible purchases at select shipping, food delivery, and retail subscription merchants, including the $155 Walmart Plus monthly membership credit and $240 flexible business credit. Enjoy the benefits of membership with the Amex Business Gold Card. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold Card. Built for business by American Express.
All right, this episode, like we said, we are doing James and the Giant Peach. So before we get started, let's do some basic info about this film. It was directed by Henry Selick. The studio is Walt Disney Pictures, Allied Filmmakers, and Skeleton Productions. Obviously, there were a few different production companies. Distributed by Buena Vista Pictures, obviously, which is Disney's label. It was released August 2nd, 1996. And the budget, this is really funny, it was a $38 million budget. Not too shabby for the time. And the box office was $37.7 million. Like, just couldn't inch that last final $300,000. Shucks. They tried real hard. And so it was considered a box office bomb, which is such a bummer because this really is... I just recently read the James the Giant Peach book to my kids, and the book is so delightful and so much fun. So obviously I can see why this was something that they wanted to do, and they wanted to do this film and get the rights when they finally became available.
Did you see this in theaters?
I do remember seeing in theaters. I've seen this film, and as I was watching it, there were very key moments that stood out. Like I remember the neon green spriggy things, you know, that basically are the transformation, basically the equivalent of the magic beans that happen, you know, and I definitely remember the beginning way more than the end. Like the first third, I think, is very ingrained in my memory. We never had this one, so I don't know why the first third is so much what I remember. So I must have watched this somewhere else and it maybe stopped midway through. I don't know. But the songs are key, and we'll talk about that. But what about you? Did you see this in theaters?
Don't remember. I think I did. I have a feeling like I did. But there were a lot of points in this that I just did not remember, and then others that I absolutely remembered. And I also remember there are key moments that were then used in marketing through the years, like different phrases here and there.
Interesting.
Like, for example, there was one where he was, "We'll always be together, won't we? Kid, you're stuck with us." You know, like that line has like
clearly there was like this was in the beginning of some sort of a trailer on a VHS tape somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
Repeat the release date again.
It was August 2nd, 1996. Excuse me, that was the UK date, April 12th, 1996, which makes more sense for a release date, to be honest, but
yeah, so 1996 is deep in the throes of VHS. So that's when they need all of the content that they can get for those previews. So.
Right. So I wanted to talk about Henry Selick. We have talked about him for a few films, but he was an animator, obviously. He worked on a lot of stuff. He did in-betweens, and he was an in-betweener, Pete's Dragon, small one, and did a bunch of stuff. But then he kind of developed into these director roles in the 90s. In 1993, did Nightmare Before Christmas. Then 3 years later, James the Giant Peach. He did direct Monkey Bone in 2001, then Coraline in 2009, and then a movie in 2012 called Wendell and Wild. And the reason you've never heard of this is because it's a Netflix-only movie. It's stop motion. It's a stop-motion animated horror comedy. But again, I hate the Netflix model because everything is just siloed there and it stays there. It doesn't get the press, the promotion. Occasionally these things bubble up to kind of the mainstream. You think of the Squid Games, Stranger Things, where they just become larger than life and they really do have legs. But I feel like the animated films that have been released on Netflix just die. And I couldn't tell you whether that was a good movie or not, because I didn't see it. I literally did not know this existed until just now. So, that's, Henry Selick, he worked for Disney for a while. It's interesting, this movie, when they were producing it in the 80s, Joe Rampt, who is a big Pixar guy, one of the original Pixar guys, and he died in 2005. he was trying to convince the studio to produce the film because it was really, they used the quote, liberating, the most liberating material when he read it in the 3rd grade, which I need to go like hunt the source of that quote down. Because I read the book, but I did not feel that it was particularly a liberating book, but maybe I'm missing it. But yeah, they were really against it. And it says, according to the Wikipedia page, the source material's dreamy nature, episodic structure, and reputation of other doll books for being agitational, some parts of the world banned them. So other doll books were agitational, where they were banned in other countries. But so for that reason, Disney kind of wanted to stay away. But apparently in 1992 is when they acquired the rights to it. And lots of people were interested, but then they finally got the rights and then started doing it. So yeah, interesting way that they got here. You know, Nightmare Before Christmas was obviously a huge success. Or at least nowadays, it's considered a huge success. At the time, it was just a marginal success. It had a budget of $24 million and did 101.7. So definitely, you know, 4 times the budget, but we all know what that means. There's all these other costs that aren't associated. But I mean, this was the 90s. I don't feel like it was as crazy as they do for the marketing now. But yeah, so, you know, that was a success. And so they decided to do this. They were really apprehensive about doing full stop motion. Disney still wasn't on board with that. And so they ended up agreeing to do this hybrid live action stop motion hybrid. So that is kind of the beginnings of James and the Giant Peach. Now, like I said, I read the book, and I'm a book purist. I always try to read the books before the movie comes out. For example, Wild Robot is coming out. My son read the book. My sister had a bunch of books from her classroom. She's a teacher, and she gave us some, and one was the Wild Robot, and he instantly knew what it was because he's seen the previews for it, so he read it, and I'm going to read it too because, you know, you got to read the source material. So, but with this one, we'd been reading it, you know, off and on over the summer, and finally we finished it, and we had a big movie night, peach ice cream. Well, we had vanilla ice cream with peaches in it, and they were very, very excited, nice. And just because by having this movie night at the end where we get to watch the movie, it really motivates them and gets them really excited, and it gets me excited. So we did that, and so finally, I mean, it's been on our list for a while, but I was like, sorry, we're not done yet, and we really plowed through the last quarter of the book in the past few days and finished that up. So
you're like, I got a podcast.
Well, they were, yeah, exactly. But they were actually into it too. Like, they just wanted to keep reading because they knew we were so close to the end. That movie night was there within reach.
That's funny. I like that tradition, though. I think it's very productive, one, but also it's very memorable. Like, I remember growing up, my uncle, he would read Anne of Green Gables to me. Mm-hmm. And then after we were done with the book, he had an Anne of Green Gables night where we watched the movie and had like all of these Canadian themed. Like, there was just he was really searching, and I love him for it. Like, but he was really searching, trying to find anything that had any connection to Prince Edward Island. So it was really funny. But yeah, it's a very loved, joyful memory for me. So I approve of all of your movie nights. Thank you. The themes that go around it to really, I mean, it creates a memory that they're going to remember forever. So I like it.
And so with the book, I will say that this is very faithful to the book for the most part. There were definitely some things that they've changed and completely omitted, but there were songs that were straight word for word Dolls writing, which I thought was very cool because he's kind of like Tolkien in this way. He writes lots of songs into his books, and whether they're short or long. And so, I mean, and they're really funny and they're really well done. He's an incredible writer. So I enjoyed that when I was reading the book, because we had, again, I feel like the theme of the past few months has been these classic Disney CDs that they released, volume 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah. And so as a result,
it had quite the hold of our childhood.
It did. And as a result, they put certain songs on here that maybe you wouldn't have owned or watched, but because you were constantly listening to these songs in the car, they just became classics. And there are a few James and the Giant Peach songs on there. One is Eating the Peach, My Name is James, and Family. Now, I don't know if My Name is James is on there, but it's My Name is James, that's what mother... Like, I sing that all the time. James, James! And I perfectly sing it bad because that's how he kind of sings it. James, how are you? Isn't it a lovely day? I don't know why that's stuck in my head all the time. Not all the time, but it comes up more than I would like to admit. That was not a song from the book, but I really appreciated that they really did stick with the book. And we will talk about parts that they totally cut out that I was kind of shocked. But they did a good job. So yeah, where do you want to go with this?
Well, I feel like Randy Newman is a great place to jump in on, and the fact that he is quirky enough that he can get away with taking all of the words, such as the Peach song from the book, and making it exactly word for word.
Yes.
Like if anybody can do it, Randy Newman can do it. And I feel like that was said in a meeting at some point in time. Like, we've read the book. They've got songs. Can we actually keep these songs? I mean, maybe Randy Newman could. Okay, let's get him. So I feel like some of my favorite songs, I did like My Name is James. It is a good one to remember. I remember definitely, I think one of my favorites was just the Good News one at the end, ending song. I felt like that one was fun. And That's the Life for Me one. That one, that one's funny. Like it's very, all of the character driven songs are very quirky, and you just remember they did a good job of making you really know who the characters are through those songs. Yeah, so those are some of the ones that stick out mostly to me.
Yeah, Randy Newman is funny because now you think of him as the Pixar guy, but at the time he had just done Toy Story, or was in the works with doing Toy Story when they were producing this. So initially Tom Selleck, that's not his name. No. Henry Selick, excuse me. He did not want to use Randy Newman because of the association with Lasseter and Pixar. And they said, okay, like I don't want to do this. But Disney was really, really set on using him. There were other people that were suggested, but Disney wanted to own the copyright in perpetuity. And so that was a big reason why they went with Newman.
And Randy Newman, they knew how to make him sign the deal.
Yes. I mean, he'd been in the movie business a while, so maybe he was just like, yeah, it's fine, but so.
And a lot of times that is how the negotiations go. It's like, all right, who do we know that we can just pay a little bit more right now, or maybe a lot more, and we'll just own it.
Yeah, this did not really pan out the way that the Toy Story songs did. I don't feel like these get the mainstream play. No. You're not hearing these as you're walking down Main Street USA in the parks, for example.
They're like, dang it. Come on, man.
So I really like how gross the characters of Aunt Spiker and Sponge are. First off, well-suited names, just really hilarious because Sponge is the big, fat, gross one. And Spiker is the tall, skinny, wraithy one. And the way that he portrays them in this film is that, they're even grosser than you would imagine in the books. I didn't really remember the images of them being just like disgusting, just mean.
Yeah.
But they're really disgusting, and it works quite well.
Especially at the end. It's like, they just like the whole story. I would really like to know their story on how they got from wherever they were across the ocean in their
the car.
Like, that is an untold story that I need to know.
Well, in the book, that doesn't happen. In the book, when the Peach becomes large and starts rolling down the hill, they get smashed and killed by it. So that's the end of them, and we move on. And I love. It's sad, if the parents have to die, at least you died by rhinoceros. So it just makes it that much over the top, where it's like, this is sad, but we understand that this is really satirical in a way, or just fantastical. So.
Well, and you see it, yes, there's a lot of fantasy in this, in that way, but it made me think of, like, are there any, like, hidden meanings, like, behind the rhino, or, like, so this was written in the 60s, and I was looking up on Reddit, as one does, and there's one post that asks, is the rhino was a metaphor? Like, was it? And what could it be? And so there's somebody on here who thinks it was probably a train that killed his parents. And so, because as the story goes, he says the horn is similar to the train smokestack, and basically the symbolism is just like smoke and cloud, rhino, and it's just a train. Somebody else was like, all right, okay, I can see maybe he like because sometimes kids, they don't really know how to rationalize things in their mind. And so like somebody even said later on that inside the ant's hood, the hood ornament is actually a rhino. And so it's like, did they kill the parents and just tell the kid they were eaten by a rhino? Like, there's so many questions behind this, but I feel like there's a lot of things, like maybe he was trying, and this is me just going in super in depth, being like, there's got to be more reasons, like why there's a rhino, like is this deeper than what on his face? And sometimes probably not. Like Roald Dahl is just kind of, he just is who he is. So maybe there is no metaphor or anything like that.
Yeah, I have not done any research or literary analysis of this. I'm just going to take it as face value, considering the fact that there's this peach that he goes into and travels across the ocean flying on the backs of seagulls.
Yes, I don't think that the fact that the whole thing is about a giant peach, but it's like there's always an allegory or something connected to World War II, or I don't know. I just feel like any of these books have some kind of extra thing that they're kind of gleaning off of. I mean, there's always more interest that somebody could add by adding those kind of things. But at the same time, like sometimes you just want to be like fanciful.
Right. You just want to have a fantasy novel and have it be that.
Yeah.
Fantastical.
Yeah, so fantastical, yes. So that's probably more his style.
Yeah, and we know that J.K. Rowling was very much influenced by Dahl's works, and you can definitely see it here. You can see it in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, this orphan narrative where they just have everything going bad for them. And I mean, it really does pull at your heartstrings and make you root for these characters when they're in such a low part of life, and yet they overcome, and there's, a fantasy or some sort of whimsical journey that happens, and they're transformed to a different place. Or here, he goes inside the peach, or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory goes inside, he gets picked of all the children of the world to go into the factory. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I can definitely see that inspiration heavily in her work. So I'm like, man, if I ever write a book, I need to have some terrible situation happen to my main character as a child.
This is horrible though, because it's like, as an aunt, like sometimes I wonder if my nieces or nephews see me like this, because sometimes like
no way.
Kids, no, I'm sure they don't see me like this because I'm awesome, right? No, but like, if a kid were to go through some horrible situation and they don't know where to put that trauma, a lot of times they end up putting the trauma on the people around them.
And, you can see how stepmothers get their reputation. So one thing that I do like about this film a lot is the contrast between the live action and when he becomes an fully stop motion animated character. There is the comparison to the magic beans in Jack and the Beanstalk, but these are not. They are crocodile tongues, and they are just these neon green, curly cues, and I think it's pretty funny. So he meets a mysterious man who gives them to him, and they spring away everywhere, and obviously that's where the peach grows, and then the bugs obviously get infested, but then he takes a bite of the peach and it's infested with one of these little tongues, and so he transforms as well. And my kids really got a kick out of that, and I think it's a good contrast. It allows it to set it even more into this fantasy world, and then eventually the peach goes and off they go. So
I mean, that really goes against the message of kids don't take food from strangers.
Yes.
Especially
how many times do they tell us in these books, and yet people do it. So some of the differences that I noticed in this, and I thought this would be just a good time to talk about it. So there's the shark scene where initially, so the peach rolls into the ocean and they're kind of floating around just trying to figure out whatever. So before that, he has this dream of going to New York City. And that's very, very much like, we are going to New York City. He wants to go there. and he wants to see the Empire State Building, and then, hey, we're flying to New York City. It's like a very clear goal. Whereas in the book, the New York City is mentioned, but it's not until they finally arrive at the very end. They're actually floating, and then they, land on top of the Empire State Building that they realize, oh my gosh, this is where we've been. This is where we've been traveling. It's just a shock. And I like the way that they do it in the book because, it helps to establish that a little bit more in the movie. But in the book, I didn't feel like, oh man, I wish he would have set the scene that he was going to end up in New York City. It's totally fine in the book. So the Peach rolls into the ocean and quickly, starts getting attacked by sharks. Now in this book, there was an initial version of it that didn't make the cut with a different screenwriter where the sharks were going to be Nazi sharks. So there you go. It's back to your World War II analogy.
Well, there's always a World War II analogy. Like, there's always something like, I mean, I understand because it's like our generation has a 9/11 like trauma that we all grew up having because we were part of it and it was this big thing. But anything prior to that, it was the communal trauma that had happened was World War II. And so it's like, how does an artist or an author dig into that sense of impending doom, in our lives based on a worldwide front? Well, let's talk about World War II.
So instead, they have this mechanical shark that is trying to attack and eat the peach, and it's unclear who this is, what it is, why. I didn't love that. Just in the book, just a bunch of sharks come and they just start trying to attack and eat and bump the peach.
You're saying in the movie it was supposed to be the Nazi?
Initially, a very early screening with a different screenwriter.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, there's always something.
Yeah, they said, no, we don't want this, so I don't know. So, but yeah, in the book, it's the sharks are attacking the peach, which is a little bit more realistic, and then they see, oh, let's lasso all the seagulls and get enough of them, and eventually they'll fly away. These seagulls are just so subservient. Like, they're not fighting it. They just, it's like as soon as they get on their neck, like, oh, no worries, off we go. And they have a silkworm character in the book who her only purpose, she just kind of like hangs at the bottom. She's not really social, but she spins a lot of silk. And they, in order to cut down the characters, they got rid of silkworm because, spiders have webs and can essentially do the same thing. And so they use spider. There is a different part where Centipede falls off, and he falls off the side of the peach. And this one, he jumps purposefully, whereas it's an accident. And so James has to be brave and save him. But then there's this like skeleton pirate scene that I was like, whoa, no, that's not in the book at all.
Wow.
So I don't, you have these two impending sense of peril, that happens. But in the book, and they totally cut this, and I'm not sure why, I'm not sure how I feel about it. They go up into the clouds and they realize there are these cloud men, just these men that are clouds, and they kind of do the work of, this is kind of like a Greek mythology sort of thing, like, oh, how man got fire, or how the sun came to be, right? Like all these origin myths, right? And this is kind of saying like, oh, this is how hailstones, so they're like cutting hailstones and dropping them down. There's a rainbow that they're painting. The rain comes down in these big buckets. Centipede ends up getting covered in paint, and it's drying too fast, and he's going to be like stuck that way because of the paint. And so luckily this big rush of rain comes and washes him off. But the Cloudmen they're kind of minding their own business until Centipede starts whistling and like yelling at them, and then they get their attention. They're freaking out, and then they're being attacked by the Cloudmen. And so they have to escape that, and then eventually he gets covered in the paint. So I liked that scene in the book. I just thought it was really fun. It was creative. It kind of explored this imagination of how these parts of our world are created. Obviously not really, but just a fun way to do that. Yeah. But they really cut that entirely. They add the skeleton pirates, and then, that's about it.
Okay, so with the Cloudmen, does the Centipede get any kind of redemption? Or does he even need redemption in the book?
I don't know. He never really gets redeemed, if you will.
Because I feel like that's what they used that scene for in this, because he had lied about having actually been a Commodore.
Yeah.
Okay. I have no idea why people add these. Or like they're like, maybe they just had a fever dream themselves, and they were just like, I'm gonna add this because I want it.
Maybe it was hard to animate. They need a lot of fluffy clouds, I don't know. But they can do anything. They can really, they're really creative. So yeah, it's fine. They had to do what they had to do. And they end up in New York City, and the difference with the New York City scene, obviously, they just appear. They're like, wow, we're here in New York City. But everyone in New York City in the book thinks that the peach floating over them is a giant bomb, and they are freaking out, and people are running down to the subways trying to get cover.
World War II.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then obviously, the Spiker Sponge they don't just roll up in a rusty old water-filled car.
Uh-huh.
Just to they try to create this other, and I understand why they do that, because finally in the book, all the police chiefs and the firefighter chiefs, they go up to the top floor, the tourist lookout deck, which is the closest to the spike, and they know that something's up there, and then they realize that it's these creatures, and then there's a boy, and James comes out. And then it's like, oh, wow, he's this big hero. That's kind of how it ends. And here they had to create that last moment of drama with Spiker and Sponge saying, no, this is our peach. We're going to. Oh, and then in the book, they have a big parade with the peach. And this goes to show the difference between Spiker and Sponge. Like at the beginning, Spiker and Sponge, they're, hey, can I have a taste of the peach, or can I touch the peach? And they're like, no, you got to pay for it, blah, blah, blah. But when they're doing the parade for James, a big parade through New York City, kids say, can I try the peach? And he's like, yeah, sure, go for it. And then literally thousands of children go and just start devouring the peach. So only the stone, or pit as we call it, is remaining. And it's just a fun scene, because it showed the difference between how he's so generous and giving, and he doesn't see the peach as his. He just sees it as, something to give, and he's not stingy with the things that he has. And yeah, sure, have a taste of the peach. It's delicious, right? So
well, yeah, and I like how the centipede was like, it's not gonna keep.
Exactly, it is going to go bad at some point, so we might as well share it. And in the live action scene for James the Giant Peach, all the New York people, I loved it. They're just so campy. That's what I loved about the New York, or the live action parts of this, is just whether it's Spiker and Sponge or the New York people, it just was super campy and kind of over the top. And I really loved it. Yeah. I thought it was really fun. It matched the animation part of this, where it's not like, oh, we're really, really set in the real world, and then we have this fantasy scene. No, it's like this whole thing is just over the top. And I really liked that.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely you're already able to suspend your disbelief because of just how crazy the real world scenes are. Mm-hmm. And so you're not trying to think, well, that would never happen. Well, obviously. You're never going to see these people in real life. And everybody is also in a sense of, I'm never going to see this actually. So it does a good job of creating and maintaining that sense of fantastical experiences. So
all right, what else did you like?
Yeah, I liked the flow of it. I as you mentioned before, I really liked the transition from live action into the stop motion. I have a lot of memories of that first section of him hanging out with the bugs, and I have a lot of memories of that. And like I said, I didn't have as many memories of the ending. So that leaves me, but I believe, I don't know, like I said, I think I saw it, but I'm having a hard time remembering all of it. But in the end, I felt like it was a fun, fantastical movie. It did exactly what it wanted to do. And the only reason I went on a Reddit journey was because I had my own all right, I mean, there's got to be more to this, right? But sometimes there isn't. So all in all, I felt like they did exactly what they wanted to do, and I liked it.
So what would you rate it?
As far as replay value, it doesn't have a lot of replay value for me. Mm-hmm. And so that's going to knock the score down. And in all, it was fun during the time, but it's more like a 3 for me.
You always steal my ratings. I'm like, 3.5 is my go-to. It's okay, but I'm like, no, this is really a 3, but definitely not a 2.5. It was I give it a 3 as well. This was really fun. It's pretty true to the source material. I love the animation. I love the live action scenes. The songs are really great. And I think it's, again, the source material is what they pulled from. There were a few moments and scenes that they changed, and I'm fine with it for the most part. But other than that, I mean, there's not much drawing me back to this to rewatch it again. Like, if I obviously we reread the book, we'd watch it again. But I don't think my kids would say, "Hey, let's watch James and the Giant Peach." I think it was, "Hey, we read the book, we checked it off the list, great." It wasn't, the characters weren't so, I did, one thing about the characters is they really did differentiate the bugs. We didn't talk about them at all. But there's the centipede. We've talked about him. You know, he's kind of this like New Yorkie guy. And I really liked that each one of them had these different dialects or regions of the world that they kind of represented, which really made them stand out. You know, Miss Spider, she's French. Yes. In the book, this is not a thing at all. I mean, they have no like nationalities or anything, but I like that they did that. Ladybug is like this like happy, feed the birds, British woman, you know, I can see, you know, like knitting. And then Old Green Grasshopper, you know, he's just kind of a British sort of fellow. Earthworm, you know, he's got the glasses to cover the eyes. And then
the
Glowworm, who really does hardly anything, you know, but she's there.
She kind of plays the part as the silkworm.
Yeah, they kind of silkworm, glow, you know, they sent different parts of silkworm, gave it to glowworm, gave it to spider. Yeah. So, I mean, they're good. I mean, I think it was a good to
transfer these.
To pare it down. But it was fun. It was cute.
I enjoyed it. So you said your kids liked it, but they would not most likely ask for it again anytime in the near future. But it was fun. Nice. So let us know what you all think in the comments of this. You can go to rotoscopers.com/308. You can also send us a voicemail. We've had good luck with having voicemails the last couple of episodes. You can go to rotoscopers.com/voicemails. You can dial 406-646-6575. You can also just send us an email at contact@rotoscopers.com with an audio file attached. So go ahead, send us, let us know your thoughts. And
that's all we have for today. Hope you liked this episode. Thanks so much for joining us. And until next time, we are the Rotoscopers. Sorry, just thought I was done.
Okay.
Just sitting there like, oh yeah, she's talking still. I'm supposed to say that too. And we are back today with a juicy mouthful of...
Nice, I like it. Keep going with this.
And we are...
I am in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina at the current moment in time. And my cousin has gotten me into doing these sauna and cold plunges every day. I've done the last couple of days. And I'm from Arizona, and cold, I have a very high tolerance for heat. And so sauna, I'm like, yeah, like bring it. Like, this is fine. But going into the cold plunge, holy moly, I about die every single day, and it never gets easier. But that's been my new thing. So
nice.
You know,
so
we're getting crunchier every day.
How many minutes do you do?
So it's a 60-minute session, and the first like 30 minutes the first like 20 minutes or so is like a stretching or
in the cold plunge. How much do you do?
No, 2 minutes at a time.
2 minutes at a time.
And so you do 11 minutes in the sauna, 2 minutes in the cold plunge, 11 minutes in the sauna, 2 minutes in the cold plunge, and then you warm up in the sauna and go home. So nice. It's quite the thing. Anyway, that is your crunchy moment for the day.
Well, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
As an owner of a cold plunge, you know, I get you.
I love it. And I always thought you were crazy too. So,
but then once you do it, you're like, I get it. I totally get it. It's addicting. It is so addicting, and your body does feel so good afterwards.
Yeah. So anyway, I shall be doing it every day this week, and we shall see how I feel after that. So next week, stay tuned.
Okay, we'll see how it goes.
Honestly, as I was going through it, the thing that reminded me the most was in Elf, when they're like, we're talking about a peach. What's more vulnerable than a peach? And I feel like that was, I don't know, it's kind of funny when you think of like children's stories and how like, no, we can't do peaches. They're too vulnerable.
Chelsea, if you had to cross the Atlantic in a giant floating fruit that you had to eat for the whole time, what would be your fruit of choice?
That's a great question. I think a peach is pretty hearty. It's got enough meat to it that it would fill me up enough. And so yeah, I'd go with a peach. Sure.
Stick with the peach. I'm thinking maybe a strawberry, maybe a giant blueberry. I mean, he'd already done a giant blueberry before, essentially.
That's true.
But, you got to get those antioxidants with the berries, so I'm thinking ahead here.
You can also do like an apple or an orange. I mean, the orange is nice because it's already pre-sliced. So
wow, you're eating some big slices, Chelsea. You're like, we're just going to go eat this elephant one slice at a time. I'm talking little bites here, and you're eating like a quarter of it all in one sitting, and you're like, I'm good for the week.
Grab the pulp. You know what? The little pieces of pulp, and that's about the size that I think you need.
I think that the juicier the fruit, the more troublesome it would be. It'd be stuck in peach syrup. Ooh. But any fruit would be sticky and gross after a certain period of time. Mm-hmm.
That was something that I thought every time he climbed in and out of the peach, I was like, how does he not have that all over him? I mean, that's the most fantastic thing about this story.
The one thing I did love is when they were talking about eating the peach, and they were different ways that you could eat and serve the peach, and then they're making the peach beer. They're smashing the peach down into a puree, and basically it comes out of it has like this frothy peach beer. Like, that sounds pretty delicious. Just straight up peach nectar with like a froth on it. Sign me up. Nice. I should have made that for my kids. Now, if you don't want to make your own peach pie or whatever, but I do believe right now, if you're listening at the time that this was released, Chick-fil-A has their famous peach shake. So you can go have that. So,
can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I have to pet my dog's head. Like because we're in an apartment building and she's not used to that. And so there's like people walking by all the time. Uh-huh. And so she gets really like just concerned, and I realized that a coping mechanism for her is for me to rub her head, and so she's like, okay, I can calm down now, my stress is so I'm like, okay, come here. So anyway,
You've been listening to the Animation Addicts Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and be sure to leave us a 5-star review. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you want to help spread the word, be sure to share the podcast with your friends on social media. Just don't forget to tag us at Rotoscopers on Instagram and use the hashtag Animation Addicts. For all the links and full show notes for this episode, go to rotoscopers.com/podcast. Now, if you still can't get enough for your animation fix, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and visit rotoscopers.com for more animation news, reviews, and interviews. Thanks for listening.